This is Flat Out Agility, an Australian agility podcast. I'm Grace. What do you actually need for agility? Not much to start. Comfortable clothes to move in and something to reward your dog. But then if you do it for a while, you figure out there are some things that you'd like to get that would make your sport a little easier. I'm going to talk about the agility gear that I like and use all the time and I think is worth the money. I'm not going to name any brands or suppliers because I don't think that's important. These are just general items that I've found helpful. Starting with comfortable clothing. The most important item I think is good shoes. I prefer to buy trail runners because they're shoes that are made for running on unpaved and uneven ground, not concrete, which means they have really good grip. In the Territory, all agility takes place outside on grass, so it's important to have grip on your shoes so you don't slip around. I had an agility friend who actually ended up buying soccer cleats to stop themselves slipping, so that's another option. I think any shoe you're comfortable in is fine, but I do highly recommend a trail runner style. For other clothing, I think it comes down to personal preference. There's a variety of clothing options in agility, and I don't think any of them are wrong. Personally, I don't understand why anyone would want to run in jeans, but you do you. I go for bike shorts as I find it easier to move in them, and I also buy tank tops with fun dog-related slogans on them because it brings me joy. What's most important for a handler is that they are comfortable and able to move easily. As with all sports, dog sports are not immune to having a million companies advertising all kinds of training-related products to you, trying to convince you to buy them even if they're mostly pointless. But I do think there are some items that are worth the money. I think investing in a good training pouch is worth it because you're likely to use it all the time. I prefer to buy silicone treat pouches because they are much easier to clean. There are a range of pricing levels for this kind of gear, and you can get some decent ones cheaply, so you don't have to go all out and spend a lot. I also prefer to buy quality toys from small Australian businesses rather than commercial toys from large pet stores. I think tug toys with animal fur are worth the extra money because in my experience, dogs find them a lot more exciting. I also prefer tugs with a bungee line attached because it's often easier to play with my dog that way. The other toy that I'll spend extra money on is a treat dispensing ball or a lotus ball. It's a pouch toy that opens up to reveal food inside. These are a real game changer for the lower drive dogs, and I think they're absolutely worth buying from any retailer. I especially think the ones with rabbit fur are worth the extra money because in my experience, pretty much all dogs love them. I also recommend buying a phone tripod to more easily film your training. Filming your training is a really good way to review what you've done and keep track of where you're at. Cheap, flexible tripods that attach to fences or poles do the trick easy enough. It's not necessary to buy a specialty one. But if you do want to have more options for filming different setups, a standalone tripod that extends upright might be better for you. For taking videos, I think it's easiest to just use what you have. Most people have a smartphone with a camera and you can just use that, but if you have some other camera or an iPad or something similar that you can record video, then use that. I don't think you need to buy a camera specifically for recording your training. For food-based reinforcement, I find the best treats are things that you can buy or make in bulk that are affordable and long-lasting. I tend to buy meat rolls from pet stores as they can be cut up into little pieces and frozen in bags, so it's a really efficient way to have training treats ready at all times. I also buy commercially air-dried meat, but it's really quite expensive, so that's only if I really need something readily available. If I'm willing to make my own treats, I will either buy bulk chicken and boil it, or I will make what's usually called tuna fudge or salmon fudge, which is canned tuna or salmon with egg and flour that's baked in a flat pan and then chopped up into little pieces to get large amounts of treats. Both of these options can also be frozen, which again is really useful to be able to just grab before heading out for training. Another high-value treat that is affordable is cat go-gurt or cat treat tubes, which you can buy fairly cheaply at the supermarket. They're pretty good for jackpot-style rewarding. For agility equipment, I don't think it's a necessity to have your own equipment unless you don't have access to a club or training facility. Then, of course, you will need to figure out something. But I do think it's useful to have 6 weaves and 2 or 3 jumps. These can be bought or made out of PVC pipes if you're a DIY kind of person. Weaves take a really long time to train, so having your own set of 6 can help you progress much faster. 2 or 3 jumps is useful to do individual jumping skills or very small sequences. The only other equipment I think is worth buying or making is some kind of training platform. The commercial ones are quite pricey, but rigging something yourself might be possible as long as you ensure there's a good grip on it. Training platforms are super useful for target training, contact foundations, stationing training, and fitness routines. They're a very versatile piece of equipment, so I do think it's worth the buy if you are getting serious about agility. For other fitness equipment, you could buy endless stuff. but I think you can do most good exercises with things you probably already have. The things that I've bought that I've used a lot are 2 balance cushions that were quite cheap and have been very useful for basic fitness exercises. Paired with the training platform, there's a lot of exercises that can be done. I actually made do with just the 1 balance cushion for years and only recently bought a second one to do a little bit more. There are a couple other miscellaneous items that I think are really worth having in your agility kit. I think a special agility leash and collar set is valuable. It doesn't have to be fancy, although there are some Australian small businesses that make and sell very nice agility leashes for this purpose. But thinking about what kind of leash and collar set you would like and that works for your agility routine is very valuable because it means you can spend time crafting your routine with specific gear, which gives clear cues to your dog about what is expected. If you have a specific leash and collar set for trials, it will make practicing your routine much easier. I also think it's worth getting a battery-controlled fan. There are different brands you can buy in different cost brackets, and you also do need to fork out for a battery and charger as well. But given Australia is by and large a hot place, it's good to have an accessible way to cool down your dog easily in the hotter weather. Personally, I'm not as much of a crate person, so it's not something I prioritise, but if that's your jam, then a crate would be in this list. I prefer raised cots or dog beds, which you can get pretty easily in camping stores that fold up conveniently. I've found mine really useful as both a crate alternative and a stationing prop. An item that is not important for doing agility, but I like to have, and I'm counting it here, is a ribbon jar. I really like having a nice visual representation of our achievements without it taking up a lot of space in my house. I highly suggest the jar display if that's something that's important to you. And the final item on my list is a total luxury, not at all necessary for agility, but it brings me a lot of joy, and that is commissioning art of my dogs. There are a ton of artists both in Australia and internationally that will create custom art of your dogs in whatever way you like. I've ordered portraits, logos, stickers, labels, and baseball cards. I've put custom art on mugs, tote bags, tops, caps, and even a sports jacket. It makes me happy to have beautiful art of my dogs around my house and on my stuff, so I think it's totally worth it. So that's all the gear that I recommend for agility. Not all necessities and not all things that have to cost a lot of money, but things I've found super useful or just enjoyable. If there's anything I've missed that you would recommend, let me know. I'm always keen to hear about any tips and hints to make training better. This has been Flat Out Agility. Be kind to dogs.